Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am so thrilled you're joining me today because we're going to walk through a truly beautiful story together. It's a pretty simple tale, but honestly, it holds a profoundly deep lesson about how we show up for the people we care about the most, especially the children in our lives. So, get comfortable, because this is a story that might just change the way you look at love and expectations.
So, we're going to use a really gentle fable today to look at our own parenting and caregiving. And I want to be crystal clear right out of the gate. We are doing this completely without judgment. We all know parenting is incredibly hard, and we naturally bring our own hopes and dreams into it. This story simply offers us a mirror, a way to reflect on how we love, just by looking at a little girl and a tree.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1, A Girl and Her Tree. Our story kicks off with a little girl named Ishtar, who lived right next to this magnificent, vibrant green apple tree. Now, Ishtar knew perfectly well it was an apple tree, but every single morning she'd go out, water the tree with incredible dedication, and whisper a hopeful little prayer. She'd say, "Today is the day you give me my absolute favorite fruit, an orange." But the tree, being faithful to its nature, only ever produced crisp red apples.
Eventually, as you can probably imagine, Ishtar reached her breaking point. One day, her frustration just boiled over. She literally kicks the trunk of the tree and shouts, "You are a bad friend. I take care of you, I clean you, I water you, and this is how you pay me. You are selfish for not giving me a single orange." And wow, this moment just perfectly illustrates the sharp, biting pain of unmet expectations. She was giving love, sure, but she expected a very specific return.
Which brings us to a major turning point in our fable. Part 2, The Bird's 4 Questions. High up on a branch, two wise little birds had been watching Ishtar's outburst. One hops down and asks the first question. "Is it true that the tree is a bad friend for not giving you oranges?" Still totally caught up in her anger, Ishtar gives this blunt, forceful response, "Yes." Then the bird asks the second question. "Can you know with absolute certainty that an apple tree should give oranges?" This stops Ishtar right in her tracks. She goes silent. She looks up at the sturdy branches and the green leaves. Finally, she quietly admits, "Well, no. Actually, nature dictates that apple trees grow apples." The bird gently presses on with the third question. "How do you react? What happens inside you when you believe the thought, 'The apple tree should give me oranges'?" I really want you to think about this for a second and empathize with her. Think about how it feels, physically and emotionally, to just grip onto an expectation that reality is flat out refusing to meet.
Well, Ishtar confesses how terrible it feels. She says, "I feel furious, I have a knot in my stomach." She realizes that by staring at the branches, just waiting for an orange, she completely stopped seeing the tree's beautiful flowers and its cooling shade. She was entirely focused on what was missing. She admits she treated the tree poorly, kicked it, and failed to enjoy its company. She had literally turned a perfectly good tree into her enemy. And then we get to the final, incredibly powerful question. The bird asks, "Who would you be without that thought? Who would you be if you didn't demand that the tree be different from what it is?" This question really sets the stage for a profound realization, not just for Ishtar, but for all of us. And this brilliantly illustrates the big breakthrough. Ishtar closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and imagines standing before the tree without her demands. She whispers, "I would be happy. I would feel at peace. I could appreciate its strength and eat its sweet apples, instead of hating it for not being an orange tree." She discovers the absolute freedom of just dropping her demands. In that moment, Ishtar realizes the problem was never the tree. It was her own war against reality. So she ends that war right then and there. She walks up to the trunk, gently strokes the bark, and apologizes to the perfect apple tree for asking it to be something it wasn't. She finally picks an apple and eats it with true gratitude. Then, feeling this real sense of lightness and relief, she takes practical action to satisfy her own desires. She goes to the market, buys an orange, and plants a seed at the far end of the garden.
Let's shift gears a bit. Part 3, The Trap of Conditional Love.
Now, what's really interesting here is how clearly we can contrast two very different ways of relating to the people we love. On one side, we have conditional love. I love you if you behave exactly as I want. On the other side, we have unconditional love, which simply means loving what is. Let's look a little closer at the conditional side of this equation. You know, the story of Ishtar totally exposes the danger of conditional love. The hard truth is, conditional love isn't actually love at all. It's more like a commercial exchange of needs. It's based on the formula, I love you if you think like me or if you satisfy my desires. And the moment the other person fails to meet our expectations, we withdraw our affection and replace it with attack. This dynamic literally creates prisoners. We become slaves to our own demands, and we make the other person, so often our child, the culprit of our unhappiness.
All right, let's bring it all home. Part 4, Loving What Is.
So the birds' questions in our story are actually based on an inquiry method developed by an author named Byron Katie. And she has this absolutely brilliant quote. When you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. True unconditional love is born only when we stop projecting our own lacks and unmet needs onto others.
Think back to our girl Ishtar. She could only truly love the apple tree when she stopped demanding it be an orange tree. We do the exact same thing, don't we? We turn our loved ones, our kids, into bad friends every single time we demand that they change their very nature just so that we can feel happy or successful as caregivers. Peace doesn't magically arrive when the apple tree finally grows an orange. It comes when we stop fighting the truth.
So, the crucial point is this. If you are a parent, a teacher, or a caregiver, here's how you avoid making kids prisoners of unmet expectations. First, stop projecting your own lack. Second, accept their true nature. Hey, if they're an apple tree, let them be a glorious apple tree. Third, free them from the heavy burden of your expectations. And finally, just stop fighting with the truth of who they are.
I want to leave you with this final, thought-provoking question to reflect on as we wrap up today's explainer. Look at the people in your life, especially the children, and ask yourself, what oranges are you currently demanding from the perfect apple trees in your own family? When we learn to appreciate the apples, I promise you, everything changes. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this beautiful lesson in unconditional love. I'll catch you next time.